Tonight on 60 Minutes.
I couldn't see behind me, it was pitch black in the room. And immediately I freeze. This instant fear comes over me that there's somebody in the house.
Oscar Pistorius.
And at that moment, I hear the toilet door slam.
In his first ever interview.
Before I knew, I'd fired 4 shots.
He holds nothing back.
Why isn't she answering me? Please, God, please, 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 just don't let this be what I think it is.
The night Reva died.
There's so much blood.
Claims of jealousy.
If he did send her a message, they would have brought it up in evidence.
And the biggest question of all.
Why didn't she shout at me from the toilet?
Is it the truth or not? Good evening and welcome to the program. From Paralympian to pariah, Oscar Pistorius is now a shamed and shameful figure. Next week, he'll be sentenced for murdering his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp. He shot her at his home in South Africa on Valentine's Day, 2013, and then concocted a convoluted story about mistaking her for an intruder hiding in the bathroom. The courts didn't accept his defence, and now, facing at least 15 years in prison, he's decided to tell his story publicly for the first time. The interview with British reporter Mark Williams-Thomas is a macabre and, we should warn you, sometimes graphic insight into what happened that fateful night. But as you watch it, remember, it is entirely Oscar Pistorius's version of events. He didn't ask the court's permission to do it and has further outraged Reva Steenkamp's grieving family.
I did take Reva's life and I have to live with that. I can smell the blood. I can feel it, the warmness of it on my hands. And to know that that's your fault, to know that that's what you've done. And I understand the pain people feel that loved her and miss her. I feel that same pain. I feel that same hate for myself. I feel that same difficulty in understanding this. And I look back and I always think, how did this possibly happen? Think, how could this have happened? How could this have happened?
In 1986, Oscar Pistorius was born without calf bones. Surgeons amputated both his legs below the knee when he was just 11 months old. But his mother was determined her son would overcome his disability.
My mother was a very spiritual person. She prayed and she said, we might have to amputate his feet, but never treat him differently. There was never what's wrong with you. It was always that God's blessed you and that you're blessed to be different and you must see the uniqueness in it. She really wanted to instill that perception of there's nothing wrong with you.
Part of leading a normal life meant the young Oscar Pistorius was encouraged to take up sport. His first love was rugby, but after a knee injury, his coach suggested he try athletics, running on carbon fibre blades. He was 17.
I was really a kid at that point.
By the time he competed at the London Olympics and Paralympics in 2012, Oscar Pistorius was one of the world's biggest sports stars. The Blade Runner had become a legend.
It's Pistorius in 4. Looks like he's got this one in the bag. Can he set a new world record? Oscar Pistorius of South Africa. Oscar Pistorius is going to win it. He's storming down the last 100 metres.
He returned to South Africa a nation's hero. Then came a chance meeting with another rising star, beautiful model Reva Steenkamp. Photographer Nick Bolton took some of her first pictures.
She just stood out, she really did. She had an amazing personality. You could just tell that she was going to succeed. She wasn't full of herself or anything like that. She was just a very bubbly, intelligent girl. Everyone liked her.
That looks easier than what it is. I'm hurting in places that I never knew existed. So.
Within hours of meeting, they were on their first date at a red carpet event.
Oscar's a very, very sexy boy, but he doesn't do it in like an arrogant, obnoxious way. He does it in a very classy, understated. He always has a good, simple suit on. It's a gentleman.
When I saw her, I was immediately drawn in by her. I was kind of a bit speechless and a bit giddy and clumsy. She's just a stunning girl and just very carefree, very bubbly. Everybody was very drawn towards her. She'd just walk in a room and light it up.
Soon Pistorius was introducing Reva to his family.
You couldn't help but love her. She was warm and inviting, very down to earth. I was really excited that my brother was dating her, and I was happy for him. I could see that he made her happy and they looked happy together, and there was just a good bond and chemistry between them and how they interacted.
So she'd really got to a position where her life was starting to become part of your life and your life was starting to become part of her life?
Yeah, definitely.
3 months into their relationship, the couple returned to Pistorius' home in the security-monitored Silverwoods country estate. They were about to spend their first Valentine's together.
I got home just after 6 p.m, parked my car in the driveway, and I walked to the front door. Reva was smiling and giddy and just bubbly, and I could smell this dinner that she was making, and you could see that she was like very excited. And she'd laid the table, like a really beautiful day out on the table with the candle, and we ate. And afterwards we sat at the table and chatted for quite some time, and she said, no, let's just go lie in bed, we can watch something in your room. And when I got upstairs, the room was very humid. The air conditioning unit that was attached to my room wasn't working. They were renovating the outside of the home. And so I put the fans on. I'd been to the physio 2 days earlier, so I had my entire right shoulder strapped with tape. Usually I'd sleep if you're looking at the bed on the right-hand side, but I was sleeping on the left-hand side because I couldn't put weight on my right-hand shoulder. When I came in the room, I'd place my firearm on the left-hand side under the bed. And then she said, you know, come, let's go brush our teeth. And I didn't get up immediately, and she called from the bathroom, and she's like, come, Babu, you have to brush your teeth. So I'd taken my legs off, so I'm lying on the right-hand side of the bed, and my legs are on the left, and I don't feel like walking across and getting them and everything. So I walked to the bathroom on my stumps, and she gave me like this little smile, you know, that kind of, like, right, you know, I'm the boss around here type thing. And so we sat in bed for a while, and I just said to her, listen, if I fall asleep, would you mind just closing the doors and switching off the telly? And then I pretty much fell asleep after that.
Within a few hours, Reva Steenkamp would be dead. This will be Pistorius's attempt to explain the inexplicable. A story that has had the world talking ever since. Welcome back. At Oscar Pistorius' trial in March 2014, the judge determined the Blade Runner hadn't murdered his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp. Instead, he was convicted of culpable homicide, similar to manslaughter in our courts. The state of South Africa appealed that decision, and after a second hearing last year, the original verdict was overturned and replaced with a conviction for murder. Interestingly, the trial judges criticised the evidence he'd given in court, but as you'll see, Oscar Pistorius is still sticking to his story. Oscar Pistorius and Reva Steenkamp slept in a room connected by a short corridor to the bathroom and toilet where Reva was killed. Violent burglaries are so common in South Africa that many people, like Pistorius, keep a gun close by. He woke up about 3 a.m.
I'd opened my eyes, the curtains weren't drawn closed, and the sliding doors were still open. Reva had forgotten to close them. She said, can't you sleep, Babu, or can't you sleep, Babu, or something like that. And I said, no, I can't, you know, and it was fairly half asleep type thing. And I got out of the side of my bed, and I walked around the edge, the corner of the bed. It was dark, so I was feeling the side of my bed. I didn't have my prosthetic legs on. The tripod fan was in the doorway, and one of the plastic fans was pretty much where the legs are of the tripod stand. So you couldn't close the doors without moving them. And I closed the doors. And by this point, my back was towards the room. When I got out the bed, Reva was next to me. And I drew the blinds and the curtains. And, at this point, it's pretty much pitch black. I heard this noise coming from the bathroom, and it was a sliding noise of the window frame hitting the frame. I'd known that they'd broken into the house not even a couple of 100 yards from mine with the ladder in the middle of the night. And I immediately got panicked, and the fans the whole time are running. I couldn't see behind me, it was pitch black in the room. And immediately I freeze. And this instant fear comes over me that there's somebody in the house. Somebody was actually in the process of breaking in. And my first thing was thinking, like, I need to grab my firearm. If this person's already got into the house, this window's already open, it's a matter of seconds before they're in the bedroom. And I'm scared, I'm terrified, and I get my firearm. And I say to Reva, I said, call the police and get down on the floor. Call the police, get down on the floor. But I'm still whispering at this stage. I need to get between this intruder and Reva. And I need to approach this person because I can't run away without my legs. If I sit there and wait for them and this person comes out shooting, I needed to get to a point where I'm safe, but also where Reva's safe. And if she's behind the bed and I can stand at the passage and look down the passage, then at least I'm between them and her. Basically, on one of my hands, both my stumps, and pointing the firearm. So I'm low down, and I'm starting to shake and sweating and come with fear. And at that point, I just entered into the passage, and I start shouting and I start screaming, "Get the fuck out of my house! Get out of my house!" You know. And I start screaming, and the more I start screaming, the more scared I'm actually getting. The more like, the more real this is feeling. And at that moment, I hear the toilet door slam. There's someone right here, around this corner. I'm now pretty much at the half point between Reva and them. She's not armed. I don't have time to get my legs back on. These people are definitely in the house already. If they come at me quick enough and they grab the gun, or if I hesitate, they could use the gun on either of us. And I shout, "Reva, call the police." And I'm trying to intimidate this person to get out of the house, you know, to climb out of the house, to get out of my home. And I'm swearing and shouting, and I realize the more I can see into the bathroom, the greater the chances that this person is right here, around the corner, right here, you know, where the basins are. And so I'm petrified at this point. I don't want to stick my arm out, and if they can grab my arm, I decide I don't have the balance to align the firearm. At this point, I see the windows open. These things are running through my head. The window's just been opened, the door's just slammed. It's the middle of the night, Reva's right next to me in bed. I've got to stand here until we get help, until somebody comes, because I can't go back to Reva and then expose her and expose myself. I'm hiding behind the toilet entrance wall. I can see the toilet door. I don't know if it's one person. All I know is that there's somebody in my house, and all of a sudden I hear a noise at the toilet. I presumed it was the toilet door opening, and before I knew it, I'd fired 4 shots. When the gun went off, the echo in the bathroom was so loud, I couldn't hear anything. So I was shouting at Reva, phone the police, and I was still screaming, "Get out of the house, get out of the house." And I couldn't hear anything. It was just this ringing, and I'm terrified. And at a point I realized, I can't hear if Reva's replying or not. I make the decision to walk backwards the whole way. I don't really know what's going on. And I get to the bed, and as I reach back and I can't feel Reva's leg, I get this chill over me. I look back and I see Reva isn't in the bed. And I start hitting on the duvet cover, and I'm like, "Reva, Reva, Reva." And I thought, okay, no, a sense of calm then came over me, because I was like, she's listened to me. She got down on the floor. And I get down to the floor and I can't feel her. So I start pulling everything apart, and I start saying, I'm like, "Reva, Reva, Reva." And I'm like pulling my hand, but I'm on my stumps now still. As I'm pulling my hand across the curtain, thinking like, "Lord, please just tell me she's hiding behind the curtains." And I get to the end of the curtains and my heart just sinks. I'm still scared that there's an intruder in the house, but I'm not, mixed with another fear. So I rush on my stumps back as quick as I can to the bathroom, and I've still got the firearm pointed at the door. It's locked, and I realize there is somebody inside here, and they're not answering me. And what if it's Reva? And I start shouting, and I'm trying to rip the door open. I don't have any balance on my stumps. So I run back to my room. I've still got the firearm in my hands, and I'm trying to put on my legs as quick as possible. I run back to the bathroom, and I start kicking the door. I don't know if I kicked it once or twice, and I just kick, and I try to charge the door with my shoulder. And and the door wouldn't open, and I'm screaming now for Reva, and I just start screaming, Jesus, please, God, please, 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 just don't let this be what I think it is. I need to get in this toilet to see if it's Reva, and if she's not answering, why isn't she answering me? Is she scared? Is she okay? So I run back to the room, back down the passage, and I get the cricket bat. And I start smashing down this door. I reach into the door to open the lock from the inside, and I realize the key isn't there. And I punch one, I take one of the planks that's now, this is loose, and I rip it out. And there I can see Reva's on the floor. And I'm screaming, and I'm just praying for the Lord. I'm like, oh God, please, 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 please. And I opened the toilet door, and immediately when I saw Reva, she was over the toilet. She'd slumped over the toilet, and I thought at that point I knew that I'd killed her. I knew that she was dead, and I went down on my knees and pulled her onto me. I turned so that I could get her out of the toilet because I couldn't pick her up in the small space. And I put her on the bathroom floor, and I pull the curtain, the towel down for her head. And I just see blood, and it's just blood everywhere. It's just blood everywhere. There's so much blood. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to pick her up. I'm trying to pick her up, but there's so much blood I can't stand up. And I thought Reva had started breathing. So I had my fingers in her mouth, and I was trying to give her mouth to mouth, but there was so much blood.
Welcome back to 60 Minutes. Oscar Pistorius, one-time track and field star and heroic role model, will now forever be known as a murderer. By agreeing to this television interview, he clearly believes he has nothing to lose and maybe can influence the very negative public opinion. But remember, British journalist Mark Williams Thomas's scoop is only one side of the story. The other, though, was well and truly covered in the court.
I fired my weapon. It was an accident.
You just started shooting? Or accidentally your fingers pulled the trigger?
I started shooting at that point, my lady.
At the intruders?
At the door, my lady.
But in your mind, at the intruders?
It's what I perceived as the intruder coming out to attack me, my lady.
So it wasn't accidentally?
My lady, I'm getting confused with this accidentally and not accidentally.
Pistorius was convicted of murder, regardless of who he thought was behind the toilet door. In the hours after he was arrested, an avalanche of stories suggested it was premeditated murder of Reva. One such story focused on claims of jealousy, suggesting Pistorius had reacted angrily to a text sent to Reva by her ex-boyfriend, South African rugby player Francois Hugar. But did such a text exist?
There's this idea that Reva receives a text message from an ex-boyfriend that you're meant to have seen and it's annoyed you.
I don't know if she did receive a message from him or if she didn't. They dated for a short time. It didn't work between them and they split ways. And there had been a lot of time between the night that I took Reva's life and the time that she'd split with him. And there was nothing involved between them, her and him anymore. If he did send her a message, they would have brought it up in evidence. They never did.
Francois Hugar has gone on record to say he never sent Riva a text message the night she was killed. More stories continued to emerge in the media.
Within a matter of weeks after Riva's death, they are saying that you beat her with a cricket bat.
It never happened. The pathologist never brings it up. There's never any evidence laid about it. On the evidence given on the cricket bat, there's no evidence to substantiate that. Nothing.
In 2014, Pistorius sold his luxury 4-bedroom house to help pay his legal fees. And after negotiating with the new owners, I've managed to secure access.
The state's case is that shortly after 3 a.m, an argument occurred between Oscar and Riva. That argument resulted in Oscar getting out of bed. He's angry with Riva. The suggestion of the state is that this is an argument over an ex-boyfriend. They run around the corner here. Oscar chases Riva to the bathroom. He runs round the corner here. Riva locks herself in the toilet. The initial state's case is he fires 4 shots deliberately into the door, killing Riva with intent. And they also say at this point he was on his prosthetic limbs, not on his stumps as he's claimed. And the reason they say that is the angle and the trajectory of the bullets.
The state argued this proved premeditation, that he intended to kill Riva. That after she locked herself in the toilet, Pistorius took the time to go back to the bedroom, put his legs on, and then return with his gun.
A big issue was made right at the very beginning by the investigating officer that you had your legs on when you fired the fatal shots. That would have assisted the prosecution in terms of premeditation, that you went and put your legs on.
Yes, and they stuck with that. I'd already given a statement to say that I hadn't had my prosthetic legs on, that I put them on before I broke the door down with the cricket bat.
The prosecution later accepted forensic evidence that proved he had been on his stumps when he killed Riva. But they continued to argue premeditation, saying that while on his stumps and before shooting Riva, he had used a cricket bat to try and break down the door and attack her.
I want to see how stable you are when you're not on your prosthetic limbs.
So you want me to walk without my...
Yeah, would you do that for me?
They try and say that I broke down a door with a cricket bat standing on my stumps. I can't even hold a cricket bat up if I don't have my arms to balance.
Yeah.
And the mark on the door is too high to have hit if I had had my legs off. I don't have balance, that's why I put my legs on when I wake up in the morning, and it's painful to walk far distances. There's been an argument, why didn't, if the door was right there in the bedroom, why didn't I get Riva and run away? I can't run away, and I can't defend myself.
Last week at the sentencing hearing, Pistorius again hobbled without his prosthetics. This time it was in the court, trying to demonstrate his vulnerability. But the prosecutor reminded the judge of the hard facts, that Riva Steenkamp was dead and that Oscar Pistorius had killed her.
I don't know if she felt pain, I don't know what she felt, but whatever I did was terrible. see the hurt it was caused my family, the hurt it's caused the mutual friends, most of them that we used to have don't speak to me anymore. Some of them I'm grateful that they're still in my life. But I see the pain it's caused Reva's family. I don't blame them. Reva must have just gone to the bathroom to relieve herself. And when I started shouting, she must have thought there was somebody coming in the passage and off the balcony. So she got scared and she closed the bathroom door. And here I'm thinking this is a confirmation of there being somebody in the bathroom. She just hears me shouting and me coming closer and closer to the bathroom. I don't know, you could ask yourself a million times, why didn't I just close the door before I went to bed? Why didn't Reva close the door? Why didn't, when she got up to go to the toilet, just tell me? Why didn't she shout at me from the toilet? And all these things, I can't say, why did she do them? She didn't do anything wrong. But it's difficult. It's difficult to know if one of those small things didn't happen, that the situation would be different and I'd still have her here with me.
This will be the last we hear of Pistorius for a long time. He'll be sentenced on July 6.
Some would say, well, you should spend a very long time in jail. You took someone's life.
I can't disagree with that. I think it's, at times, I don't feel like I should have the right to live for taking somebody else's life. What is difficult is dealing with this charge of murder. The day before we started the trial on the 2nd of March in 2014, I sat with my lawyers and I said to them that whatever happens, I will spend the maximum for culpable homicide is 10 years. I said to them, I'll spend 10 years in jail for taking Reva's life from culpable homicide, but I won't spend a day in jail for murdering anyone. I don't want to go back to jail. I don't want to have to waste my life sitting there. I don't argue with anyone that feels that they should lock me up and throw me the key away. Reva was a fantastic person, but if their premise is based on the fact that I took her life intentionally, which has not been found, then it's a very sad thing to think that society would want to do that. I had only contributed positively, I'd like to believe, to people's lives before this tragedy happened.